if I see a photo, that say someone took of a group ride from 2 years ago, it's going to bring back awesome memories. And I'm not going to be like, oh, why did you post that? It was 2 years ago. I'm going to say like, that's awesome. I'm glad I get to see that photo. And it just, it brings you back to that moment. It's good memories. You get to remember that.
Hello, Kevin Wenning here today with TJ, and we're doing our Ride Plus Photography Talks. TJ came from Maryland, and he's now living in Longmont, Colorado. Originally, I thought you lived in Windsor because I guess your name is TJ Windsor. So I just saw that, and I was like, hey, this guy lives down the road from me. I'm in Windsor, Colorado. Not the case, I guess, but originally he grew up on the East Coast, grew up in Maryland playing hockey, and anyway, some questions there, but found cycling in 2013 by accident. Tell us more. How'd you transition from hockey to cycling?
I guess I can kind of start from the beginning. Yeah, like you said, I grew up a hockey player. I started playing hockey when I was 9, and grew up in Maryland, playing club hockey and double and triple A hockey. So it's like a lot of traveling and such. And then got to high school, won a couple state championships, doing all that stuff. And I was pretty fortunate. I had some really good private coaches and everything, which helped me. So I ended up playing college hockey. And then after that, I got out of hockey competitively for a little bit after college, and kind of just after a couple of years got the itch back. And so I ended up going to Florida and playing very briefly for a minor league team down there. After a short period, they cut a bunch of us, more or less. They wanted to go a different direction as far as what they wanted for the team. So after that, I came home back to Maryland and was playing men's league. And I just knew I was kind of like burnt out from it. So I had a roommate at the time who also played hockey, and we played in a league that was the rink was about a mile away from us.
Jeez.
And I knew I was done more or less when I just didn't want to go. I literally could have walked to the rink. And so I was just like, I don't have the passion for it anymore. I still play every once in a while, but I just didn't have the passion. So transitioning to cycling, the roommate that I had at the time had a road bike, but we lived together for, it was about 2.5 years. And it literally just sat in the closet. So one day, it was a Friday, I came home and he was out of town on vacation, and I was bored just kind of sitting there. And I remember he had his bike in the closet. I was like, you know what? I'm going to ask him if I can ride it, just, because I was bored. So I called him up and said, hey man, can I ride your bike? He's like, yeah, sure. I don't care. Tires were flat. I didn't have any cycling gear or anything. I really didn't even know anything about road bikes. So I pumped up his tires, probably not even enough, and got on the bike. I borrowed his helmet. I had a t-shirt on and shorts and sneakers, and it was interesting. So I take the bike out and I rode like maybe 10 miles. I'm trying to figure out the shifting. I had no clue, And so I rode about 10 miles, came back home, and I just said, you know what, that was really fun. And so it kind of brought me back to my childhood when, you're riding like little BMX bikes around and stuff. And
that was my next question. Like, you hadn't ridden at all since you were a kid?
Yeah, no, not since I was a kid. Once I got into hockey, that was basically it. My life was just hockey. And so, yeah, it kind of brought me back. Like, wow, that was really fun, And I like I said, I rode about 10 miles. I rode on a bike path. I didn't even know where I was going. I just went out and came right back. And that was a Friday evening. So the next morning, a Saturday, I woke up and took his bike out again, and I rode about 20 miles. And I was like, this is just awesome. Like, this is a lot of fun, So the Sunday, the day after, I took his bike out again, rode longer, and actually learned quickly and hard that you should eat while you're on the bike. I literally just cracked hard, and I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, why do I feel like this? And then obviously, I started reading up and it made sense. So I literally got on his bike, purely out of boredom. In those 3 days, just fell in love with it really quickly. The following weekend, I ended up buying my first road bike. It was like a Fuji something. I don't even remember the model. It was like a $700 bike, and then it took off from there. I had that bike for like maybe 2 months. I basically destroyed it because of what the type of riding that I did, the road riding and the climbing and everything, and it wasn't built for that. So I ended up getting my first, I guess, real road bike, and had that I still have it actually, and yeah, it just took off from there. I was riding almost every day that I could, every weekend, starting to meet people from like the local bike shop. They would do group rides, and I would just meet up with them, and just found a really cool community, and like I said, it just snowballed from there. And then I got more and more into it.
Coming from that competitive background, having been in team sports, obviously cycling's a bit different, but did you have, after you got used to it, did you have an itch to compete and get into crits and racing?
I started to, as I got more and more into it, I started following races. I'd heard of the Tour de France and all that stuff before, but I really didn't understand it, or, the aspects of all the rules and the teams and all that stuff. So as I started to get more and more into it, the racing aspect and competitive aspect started to come back to me. And I figured, you know what, this is something that I probably, will get into. So I gave myself a little time to get fitness on the bike. The hockey background helped me a lot, just being strong that way. But bike fitness is obviously, it's all different. Getting that fitness in, and then starting to look into racing, I started reading about the different types of races, road races, the crits, things like that. And at the time, I don't think I had enough bike experience that I wanted to get into crit racing, because I saw it, and I didn't even talk to some of the guys that I started riding with, and they basically told me that crits are just absolute carnage. Like there's just, crashes galore all the time. And I came to find that out, just through the years, just watching crits and things like that. And, you see that quite often. And I always thought to myself,
there's no qualifying. You just pay your fee, show up, and go for it.
Exactly. And it's just, hammer time for however, many laps you do. And I had seen some pretty crazy crashes, and I thought to myself, one, I got to go to work on Monday. So, I got to at least be intact. And two, my bike is too important. I don't want to, trash it and then I can't ride, So I decided to just look into road racing, which I prefer more just because I like the climbing and things like that. So I did a few of those back in Maryland. I came from, when I moved out here, I was living in central Maryland in an area called Frederick, which there's a Frederick, Colorado as well. But central Maryland and western Maryland and I'll be a little biased here, it's absolute amazing riding. The roads are pristine out there. The climbing is great. It's all beautiful country. It's so nice. And then the road racing is, there you go. That's a photo from, that was right down the street from my apartment when I lived in Frederick. And that's just one of the roads that leads up into the mountains there. Obviously we don't have, 14ers in Maryland, but,
those are mountains, right?
What's that?
Those are mountains out there, I see, right?
Yeah. They're small. They're about, I think that they top out around like 3,000, 3,500 feet, but, still the riding is just beautiful there. And, all the road races that you could, find they're absolutely amazing races. So I did a few of those, and, it was a lot of fun. That just to go back to the competitive drive, that it all brought that back. And it's hard. It was hard for me to watch races, because it was kind of the same thing with hockey as well. I didn't really like watching hockey because it just made me want to play so bad. So if I would go to a bike race, it was fun to watch, but at the same time, it was like, man, I got to get in there, So that's pretty much what happened. I started doing that, and then
did you do that with a team, or just enter road races by yourself?
Yeah, I just basically I didn't race with a team, but I would go out with friends, a few friends that did race with the local team there, and we all rode together normally anyway. But I never got onto a team or anything. I just did it on my own. It's all more or less now just for fun. I still like the competitiveness of it, but I just like doing it for fun. It's really cool. And then, just the scenery and the areas that bike racing or bike riding opens up to you it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, you're speaking to exactly what really got me into cycling as well, which was, I went out by myself because I like my I like my time by myself. Just I find
Right.
I think better on the bike. I have good conversations with myself on the bike. That might be bipolar too. I don't know, but but then when I got into riding with other people, yeah, just totally different kind of friendships. People that I probably never would hang out with otherwise. But we meet together on a bike ride and find out we have common interests and just, hey, let's make this a regular thing. So yeah, those people became a part of my life when maybe I never would have met them otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. I've met, some of my best friends, just bike riding, and that's within, the last 6 years. I actually had a coworker of mine who, rides bikes as well. And for, I think, a year or two, we worked in the same office. We didn't know, that each other rode bikes. And one day, I think, another coworker mentioned to him or mentioned to me, I can't remember, one of us rode, and we started chatting one day. And then one weekend I met up with him and, two of his friends who became, good friends of mine as well. And it just, blossomed from there. And you just, the community that you can get into with bike riding, obviously we have, the similar interests, but it's just, it's awesome. It's a great group of people. I've, never met any bike riders or anybody in cycling that I didn't want to ride with or hang out with. It's been awesome. I've enjoyed every minute of it so far.
I find there's a little division between super competitive cyclists and recreational cyclists. Like, I'm not going to go out on a road ride with guys that want to, break away and they're going to try and maintain, 24 mile an hour speed, or they're going to, try and just have an all out sprint group ride.
Right.
I want to take my time and enjoy myself as well. I'll hang with them for a little while. I'm going to ride with you for 20 miles and then, okay, you guys go ahead. I'm going to just enjoy the scenery and enjoy my day.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny you say that because, I was the former, when I first got into it. I was, and again, that I guess that goes back to my hockey background, my competitive background. I was, when we would go out on rides with the group that I would ride with, it's a few of us were like that. We just want to go out and want to ride hard. We want to climb hard. You're just staring down at your Garmin or just, digging deep. And, I started to learn after a little while. And this is actually, when I was told by a couple guys in my group of friends there that, I had a decent eye for photography, just taking, because I would be one of the only ones taking photos, but I was like that all the time. I was just staring at my Garmin, just hammering. And then once I started realizing that, wait, there's actually some pretty beautiful stuff around, I can kind of slow down a little and actually pick my head up and look and realize that there's some really good stuff out there,
So I'll be honest. This next summer, I'm committing to taking my camera with me, doing a little bit more photography while I'm riding. But for the most part, up to now, and this happened a couple of years ago because I tried to carry my camera on my bike. I tried to take some photos and I just realized this is stupid. I want to enjoy my bike ride. I don't want to be stopping every 15 minutes taking a photo because I have a fitness level that I do want to achieve. I want to do so many miles or whatever my goal is for that ride. And the photography kind of got in the way. How do you balance those two?
I see these photos of these guys carrying, like big Canon cameras and things like that. And I tried it once and I was just like, no, this sucks. I didn't want this big clunky thing on my back and trying to find the right kind of strap. And it didn't matter. Every time I was riding, on that ride, the camera would just slide down to your stomach. And I was just like, I don't want to, deal with that. And then, like you said, the stopping every so often, I'd like to do that, but it's tough because you're, as you're riding, you're in the groove. You might be out for like a training ride or just, even a leisure ride. And it's hard to stop because you just want to keep going.
Like you like to climb. I'm the same way. Like I enjoy my climbs. I don't want to stop.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, and that's especially, dependent upon if you're, around here, if you're on, like Flagstaff and you're on 14%, you don't want to stop, obviously,
You slow down to look at something, you're going to fall over.
Yeah, absolutely. Or just turn around and bomb down the hill, but yeah, so I don't carry a camera. I just carry my phone. That's 99% of the photos you would see on my Instagram feed. It's all from my phone.
Okay.
I've mixed a little bit of my actual like landscape work in there where I will, not on the bike, I'll go out and I'll take some photos and stuff. And that's, I'll take my big camera and stuff like that. But everything else it's all from my phone.
So that answers kind of my next question. Then do you ever ride to a spot like this Flagstaff one? I can see,
Mm-hmm.
Do you ride to a spot just to take a photo, or you just, it's
No.
an opportunity, like you're on the ride, the conditions are right, you go, I'm going to stop. There's a cool photo here.
I don't scout any locations or anything like that. All of the photos you'll see, like obviously with the exception of this one, the majority of them are actually while I'm moving. I'll just pull my phone out and just snap it. But there are some, like this switchback here, where I'm climbing up and, you just see, as you're going, you just see like that perfect scene. And it's like, all right, now I'll stop and I'll take a photo here, and just, try and capture, where I am, what kind of conditions I'm riding in and things like that. I'd like to say, and I think most of us would like to say, especially when we're taking photos, we'd like to, put the viewer in the scene with us as well. And, I like to do that rather than just, shoot a random photo or, you can see from my feed, it's rare that I take a photo of myself.
Yeah, you've got a few staged, but for the most part, like you said, this is my surroundings. This is what it feels like when I'm out riding today. And from your seat while you're cranking up a hill.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially the photo you're looking at there. I mean, I think that point you're on like 9 or 10%. So it's, you're kind of just mashing away, but pull the phone out and like, this is just a beautiful spot. I'm just going to, shoot this photo. And just, like I said, just trying to capture, that moment, and trying to put that viewer in there with me and see, what's going on and maybe feel like it's kind of hard from the photo, but maybe feel like the pain I'm feeling as I'm climbing up the hill.
But you're not contemplating, I'm going to ride this route because it's a picturesque day and I'm going to go make some photos. Like you said, you're just taking your phone. I'll grab a photo if something cool shows up. Yeah,
absolutely. I'd say, almost 100% of the time. Yeah. I just go out. I don't even map routes. I just go out and I just ride, maybe one day I'll figure out, obviously as cyclists, we have a good idea of the length of certain routes or certain areas we go. So, one day I go out and I say I want to ride 40 miles or 30 or, 100, whatever it is. I just go out and do it. But if on that ride, if I see a certain scene or a certain, piece of the road, like, like that photo there, like a nice winding piece of the road that might lead to, lead up into the mountains or something like that, then I'm definitely going to stop. I'm going to capture that moment and, like I said, try and get the viewers, or, just friends into that scene with me so they can kind of, experience it with me. Especially, a lot of my friends back east, they told me that, they couldn't wait to see the photos out here because, in Colorado, it's kind of hard to take a bad photo. So it's, I love posting stuff like this so they can see, exactly, what type of terrain we have out here and things like that.
And then those friends from back home, you keep saying, you got to come out and visit me and ride with me. Well, where am I riding?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Where are my pictures?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think eventually, some of them will come out and ride and they'll see the, the beauty that we have out here. There actually has been, a friend of mine who did come out, I want to say about a month ago, I think. And he's a triathlete, and I would tell him all the time, like, listen, and he likes to climb, like we got the big climbs here. It's all flat. If you're not in the mountains, it's just picturesque everywhere. And, he came out and, I think they were driving down, I think Foothills Parkway and saw the Flatirons or something like that. And basically was just like, all right, I'm sold. So it's, it's pretty easy once you're actually here to realize, all right, it is as advertised.
There's so much great riding that's, so close, like peak to peak highway. and all down the hogback there, all the way down to Denver even. There's just so many great routes up into the mountains.
Yeah.
You don't have to drive very far to get to an awesome ride.
No, absolutely not. And I'm pretty lucky where I am now in Longmont. It's about from my door to, let's say, the base of Left Hand Canyon. It's, I think, maybe like 8.5 miles. So, I literally get on my bike, roll out the door, 8.5 miles. I'm climbing, all the way up to Ward, and then, farther up into Brainerd Lake if you want to keep going. But yeah, like you said, peak to peak, it's right there. Flagstaff, you got right there. And you can even, Horsetooth and all that up in Fort Collins isn't very far either. So you have a lot of options as far as good climbing, good scenery for sure.
Do you usually go straight out your front door?
Yeah. Usually I am one of those riders that I absolutely hate driving to a location and then going. If there's a group ride in that shop or, coffee shop or wherever they're meeting, if it's within, 20, 30 miles, I'll ride to it. I hate packing up the car and doing that. I'd rather just roll out the front door.
I hear you. So I want to switch gears here a little bit. I heard you talking, about your pictures, and you obviously are thinking through the process. You've spent some time as a photographer. You've thought about that. It's not like you're just out taking cell phone photos and you haven't given consideration to your photography. So where did photography come into your life?
Through bike riding, it did. I would, when I was still back in Maryland riding with my group of guys, I would most of the time be one of the only ones that would take photos. I would kind of hang back and shoot the group, or just, shoot any type of landscape that we had around us. And as I would post them, or even just share them with the guys on the ride, I would start to hear more often that, wow, this is a really good photo. It's a good composition. You have a pretty good eye for what you're looking at and what you're shooting. And I mean, I never really took it too seriously because I'm all about bike riding. Let's just go out and have a really good ride. And as I started to continue to take more photos, I started to actually kind of gain an interest of what I was shooting. And I didn't know much about editing and things like that. I used maybe a couple apps, just for very basic stuff in the beginning. And with the bike riding, and when I started to realize that I didn't have to ride hard 100% of the time, I could look up and there was just, beautiful scenery all around. That's when I started to really get more involved in actually taking the time to, find a good composition, find a good, scene while on the bike. And then I started to, practice my editing and, just trying to learn as much as I could, reading more into editing, talking with other cyclists, or even just following, just strictly photographers, and just picking their brain and just asking, what do you do for this style of editing, or, and things like that. And it just, it grew into a pretty big interest. And, and it's pretty cool to shoot a photo, edit it, and just look at it, and even just like to a friend say, hey, what do you think of this? And they love it. It's a pretty cool feeling. And, so I've gained a lot of interest that way. And then it's really nice just being outside, just being outside, just enjoying, being outside and just, taking it all in and capturing the moments. It's awesome.
And knowing that you primarily shoot, I guess I didn't ask you this question, but it looks to me like you primarily shoot on your bike rides. So when I'm scrolling through your profile, like I want to message you and go, where is this spot? Like, I know I can ride to there. So where exactly is this? You're giving people, like, even on Instagram, people know you're a cyclist. Obviously they don't have to flip over to your Strava and say, where was this ride? They can message you right there and say, hey, I want to go ride this. Where is this spot?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one big thing that I've really enjoyed about Instagram is, and in the beginning, I didn't really care much about it. I would just post a photo, or I wasn't very active. And if someone commented on it, I would like the comment, and that's about it. But now, as you grow your community there, if I snap a photo and someone asks me where it is, I'm more than happy to say, hey, it's right here. Tell them the type of road it is, how to get there, and just, what you see there. the photo that you're looking at right now,
Horsetooth Dam?
Not. What's that?
Is that on Horsetooth Dam?
Yeah, that's up in Duncan's Ridge. So you definitely can't ride a bike up to there.
Yeah.
So I went out for sunset one evening with took the big camera out and went out there and captured that. But yeah, anytime anybody asks me where I took a photo, or yeah, just anytime anybody asks me where that area is, I'm glad to tell you there. And I'll also be like, hey, let's meet up. We can go ride there, and enjoy it together. I'm all about that.
Do you explore very much off the bike as well with your photography?
I do. I'm a little bit limited, at least for the winter. I was a little bit limited because I have a tiny car and it's kind of hard to get up high into the mountains.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love taking my camera out and just trying to find new areas. Again, I don't scout locations or anything like that. I'll literally take my camera out and just drive around and say, I'll think, oh, I was up at like Nederland, the other day, and I thought it looked pretty cool, and maybe I'll go up there and just drive around and just, at a certain period and just say, all right, I'll stop here and just shoot some photos. And yeah, I love doing that. And even on hikes, this photo you're looking at now, we were on a hike up at Horsetooth. Actually, I think that was Christmas Day, and there was we were coming back on the backside of I think it was Reservoir Ridge trail, and we got up to this kind of overlook. So you're behind the dam there, and I just stood up and I was shooting like the length of Horsetooth, and one of the other guys that was there on the hike with us just told me to stand there, and he took that photo, and so I was like, this is really cool. But yeah, I enjoy just going out, walking around, and just if I see a good scene, just capturing it.
So these are the two images right here, this and the next one, that caught my attention on your profile when I first came across you. Like, I know this is probably not a cell phone photo. Like you came here at just the right time of day. You knew it was probably going to be an awesome sunset. Was that because you'd ridden this spot several times and you kind of had picked out a spot? Not that you were scouting,
no, I actually,
you knew where it was.
Yeah, I knew where this was. I'd actually seen a picture of this tree. This is actually that same spot, Duncan's Ridge up in Horsetooth, and I'd seen a picture of this tree. I don't remember exactly where I saw it, but one evening was walking around trying to figure out, just trying to figure out, or just driving around and saying, I want to go somewhere for sunset. I don't know exactly where. And I didn't know exactly where this tree was. I just had an idea. So I parked my car on that one really steep first incline going up Horsetooth, coming from, I guess, like the south end. And so I walked up the Duncan's Ridge entrance there, walked up that cliff. And right when I got to the top there, I saw the tree, and I was like, "Oh, sweet! I found it." So yeah, basically went over there and just waited for the sun to drop and captured that. And yeah, this is definitely not with my cell phone. This is with my Canon.
Awesome. So do you remember? Well, two questions then. Do you remember how you processed this?
Yep. This might sound odd, but every single photo I have is processed. I do it all on my phone. I use Lightroom on my phone. The reason why I do that is when I initially started learning how to use Lightroom and editing photos, I would do it on my laptop, and when I would transfer it over to my phone, I hated the way it looked. It just didn't look good to me, and so I thought, all right, I'll get Lightroom Mobile and check it out and see if it's similar and if, what kind of controls I had. And you can more or less do almost anything you can in a laptop on the phone. And I also realized that, I'd say almost 100% of the time we're looking at all of this stuff on our phone. So I figured I'm going to, edit it in my phone. That's exactly what I'm going to see, how it's going to look when I post it online. People are looking at it through our phone. That's how it's going to look. So every single one of my photos is all done through Lightroom on my phone.
That's a really interesting point. When I first started photographing, I would often transfer photos from my camera to my phone so I could share them right away. And I would punch them up in Snapseed or Lightroom Mobile or whatever. And then after I shared it, I would transfer that photo to my my computer, and I could never get the edits to look the same. And you're right, they always look different on my desktop than they do on my phone. So, and that bothered me because I like to end up with the photo for print. So if I edited it on my phone and I can't get it the same way, because after you edit it on your phone, of course it's down res, you don't have as many pixels, you've compressed it.
Right.
I can't. So I kind of got frustrated with that whole workflow myself. And I only edit on my desktop now, unless there's something I want to share. But do you still process most everything on your phone?
Yeah, everything. Because one, I don't print any of my photos, so it's all done on my phone. I feel if I was going to print, then I would probably at least do those specific photos on my laptop. But everything is it's done on my phone. I'll go out and on a bike ride and just shoot a bunch of photos, come back home, look at them, decide, all right, I like that one. Pop open Lightroom on the phone and just sit there for 10 or 15 minutes and just edit those. I try to keep at least 3 photos that are either from like maybe the same ride or the same evening if I go out and shoot, or just similar in like color. Try to keep those together just to kind of keep a little bit of a uniform look. There are times where, maybe like, especially this winter, it's been so cold, you might not get out for a while on your bike. And, there were times where I didn't want to go out with my camera because it's 0 degrees. And I was like, I don't want to stand in the cold weather. And I'll just scroll back through and maybe find a photo from last summer or last spring and say, you know what, this looks really cool. Find a couple more and just post those. I don't have to post something from like this day.
To me, that like we all find our kind of group of people online, right, that we like to hang out with and view stuff from. That's why we follow people. I've found the same with other photographers, travelers, cyclists. Like everybody understands each other. Like I'm still seeing photos come up in Facebook from people that I traveled to Cuba with 2 years ago. But to me, I'm like, okay, I remember I was there with them and now they're sharing those photos. I never saw those photos. So I can appreciate that. Same with the writing and photography. To me, it's you can appreciate it differently than people who are only using social to show this is what I had for lunch and this is what I did today, and it's a different reason to use the social channels, I guess.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm with you on that. It's if I see a photo, that say someone took of a group ride from 2 years ago, it's going to bring back awesome memories. And I'm not going to be like, oh, why did you post that? It was 2 years ago. I'm going to say like, that's awesome. I'm glad I get to see that photo. And it just, it brings you back to that moment. It's good memories. You get to remember that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then I message them. I'm like, hey, when are we riding together again?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. It's really cool how, this social media can be stressful, but it's also it brings so many people together. And then again, you can keep in contact with your older friends or new friends, or maybe like me, you moved and keep in contact with old friends like that back home. And it's really cool to see all that.
You said you learned your photography. You got interested in it from your bike rides, but then you started learning how to edit and process and composition from other photographers. Anybody you specifically like to follow and you like their teaching style?
Well, not so much. I wasn't really taught. I would just kind of maybe ask a question here and there, like, what are initially it was, what are you using to edit photos? Because like I said, I was using like some kind of generic apps, things like that. But as far as like being taught or anything, for the majority of it, it's just, I'm just reading, or I might even see a photo and try to like, not replicate colors anyway, but trying to figure out how they did it. And then it's a lot of YouTube videos as well. A lot of those videos I watch, they're not really teaching you anything. They're kind of just like, here's how I do it. I'm going to do it 100 miles an hour. And then, oh, it looks great now. So it's kind of hard to watch those videos and actually learn exactly what they're doing. So I'll watch it and then I'll just play around with it, and just figure out, how I want the photo to look, or, what colors I want to incorporate in there. And I guess I've kind of, developed a very, not unique style, but a style that's mine, I guess. I more or less edit majority of my photos in a very similar manner. So they, tend to look very similar, very similar in color, obviously, because, Colorado here, it's always blue out anyway. So, but
that's important to, learn from people, but at the same time, make it your own, make your own style rather than, hey, I'm just going to copy this person because I like their style.
Yep, absolutely. And that's one thing I don't want to do. I don't want my photos to look like, the next guy's photos. When I was first getting into it, I was trying to watch as much as I could in hopes of learning, all right, I have this photo. I want to learn how to, bring out this type of color or add, any type of element to the photo. And, like you said, you go in, you watch the video and they're just ripping through, editing one of their photos. They're not explaining anything. It's like, well, why did I watch this video in the first place? And then you have to go back on your own and just kind of figure it out. So that's more or less all I do is I'll just go in and I'll just tweak more or less everything, just play with, all the different settings and, different color tones and things like that. And just find what I like, how I like to process my photos. And now that I've been doing, not for so long, but I've been doing it for long enough, I can go in and easily just either maybe I have a preset set up or I can just go in and I know when, if I take a photo of say like midday and, there's a lot of blues in the photo, I know, from editing all my other photos, I can go in and edit certain aspects of the photo. And I know, quickly what I can get to. I don't have to go in and play with or tweak a whole lot of it. But there are a few cyclists / I would definitely consider really good photographers out there. Maybe you want to check out. I don't know if you checked him out or not, but there's a guy. He goes by James on the Front. His stuff is awesome. He's up in Canada. Really, really good. Really good eye. Really good storyteller. Really good photography. He rides a ton, so he's got a very, very good amount of good cycling photos and good landscape stuff as well. I don't know if you follow a guy named Sean DeLuna. He's a good friend of mine. He's back from Maryland. He goes by day.luna.shoots, so de.luna.shoots, Luna. He's very, very creative with his stuff. It's like 99% cycling. Very creative with his photography. Very colorful. He's definitely one to check out as well.
That's a cool logo.
Very animated guy as well. He's a good dude.
It looks like somebody I'd like to ride with. He's having fun.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun. He's awesome to ride with because he just wants to get as many people together as possible to ride and just go out and have a good time. He's not about going out and riding as hard as you can. Granted, back there, we were all in Frederick, Maryland. You can go out, you can have some really good, really tough rides, but he's a lot of fun to ride with. And like I said, photography for him, he's very creative with it. Very colorful stuff. So it's pretty cool to see.
Do you have plans to do any more on, as far as pursuing your photography off the bike, or taking your big camera out and practicing more and improving your photography that way?
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of, the whole like sunrise, sunset thing, that's cool. It's, I don't know. I kind of want to get into different types of things. And one thing I think I want to really get into is just bike racing photos or photography. Again, it's going to be hard for me to go to a bike race and not want to race, but yeah, I really want to get into that and just start looking up, especially when it gets warm out, just start looking up, local races around, the area here, either, whether it be road races or cross races. Obviously triathlon's huge here as well. And just going out to these events and just shooting and just, practicing, learning, trying to, I guess develop, my own type of style with it. So that's something that I really want to get into, and kind of branching out from just posting photos from my rides. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And then obviously again, just always learning, we'll never know everything. It's just going out and it's just more or less, it's just enjoying it. I don't want to go out, or I'm not looking to go out and shoot like, the perfect photo and post it, because in a week, who cares? It's, you've already posted 10 more photos. It doesn't matter. So I just want to go out and I just want to capture good moments and, and just enjoy it more or less.
Before I ask my wrap-up question, the 3 places that I would point out for people to go follow you would be, of course, Instagram is the number one place, right? That's where you post the majority of your stuff and the photos that you like the most. We've got Instagram.com/ThomasOutRiding. Let me share that here again real quick. So this is his primary profile where you should go look him up. And then Strava, looks like you post a lot of your ride photos there. I don't know how much of my audience is into Strava and posting everything there. I use it sometimes. I usually forget to turn it on, but if you're into Strava, follow him there. And then it looks like we've got a Twitter profile here as well, but you don't do a whole lot there just yet. Maybe we'll see some more of your Colorado photography as you get outdoors more here over the next year or so.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's Twitter, not super active on, but Instagram and then Strava. I ride a ton every year, so I'm always on both of those.
So my final wrap up question for you: if you could ride your bike and photograph anywhere in the world, where would you choose to go?
It's such a loaded question. It's that one's a tough one to answer. I would honestly anywhere and everywhere, especially out here, since I'm still brand new. I'm still exploring. Like yesterday, I'd never been up to Rabbit Mountain. I went up there yesterday and found a new area. It was really, really beautiful. So, anywhere and everywhere. I obviously, I think, kind of bucket lists for cyclists is like southern France and Italy and places like that, all the big climbs out there. That would be obviously amazing. But I'm still exploring Colorado, especially I want to, even delve out a little more west and then a little more southwest as well and see some of those good spots out there too. So I'm looking forward to all the new experiences.
Awesome. Yeah. So many different, just even around Colorado, different terrain, different scenery on the bike.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, when I first got into bike riding, back home, I found areas that I grew up 10 minutes from that I never knew existed, but just getting on the bike and exploring and finding these areas, it was so eye-opening and it was amazing. So I'm looking forward to experiencing that out here as well. Just getting on the bike and just continuously finding, all these new spots, to ride and photograph.